Hey everyone, what is special about this 500% drivetrain range in the summer of 2020? Well, the answer is not that much because we have the 20% better 10 to 52 introduced by SRAM not too long ago. Wait, isn't that just 4%? How much more cassette you get from SRAM versus Shimano these days? Well, you look at the diameter here and it's a tiny difference, and it's a whopping 2% difference in range between 510 and 520%. However, if you look at the proportions of the two cassettes, the jump here between 42 and 52 looks quite dramatic, like a bailout gear, a true bailout gear, whereas the Shimano cassette looks better designed with that jump from 45 to 51. But how is it different from the old SRAM 1050 cassette? This midlife refresh brings new colors, and that includes new colors for the box. You have the old GX box, which is, by the way, the same size, but this time it's white, and you still have the subtle GX here on one side. And on one end of the box, you're gonna see that this is made in Taiwan, the manufacturing week, also the new part number, which it is new. And you see the description, CSXG 1275 Eagle 1052T. This is the black. They only have GX in black. With majority of their parts, SRAM introduces this leaflet telling you to go on their website for information. And wait for it, here is the cassette. Ta-da! As you turn it over, here's your entire 520% range. On the face of the cassette, the Eagle logo is now tiny and you don't have 500% written on it. However, on the back of the cassette, you're gonna find the product code, which is the same as before. You're gonna find a serial number stamped over here on the aluminum cog. If you didn't know, you're gonna see that you can only use this with an XD driver. And more importantly, here in the middle is going to say use only with Eagle 520 or Eagle Access RD or rear derailleurs. And inside here, you're going to see plenty of grease. So this cassette is ready to be installed straight out of the box. Cassette design hasn't changed much. I have a very early GX cassette, the current 1050 GX, and the new 1052. They all have narrow wide profile teeth here on the 42 and 52 or 50. If you look at the shift ramps here on the 52 and the previous 50, they're very similar, if not the same. They are slightly modified from the early versions, which didn't have that many curls or whatever those are called. Also on this 1052, you have more shift ramps on that biggest cog, I assume because of the increased range. Also, at some point in the production, the profile of that 42 tooth has changed. These seem to be stamped versus the old one that might be machined, so it might be just a cost reduction. I showed you the size comparison with the Shimano cassette. Here's the 50 on top of the 52. That is the 6-7 millimeters bigger dinner plate on the 52, and that's the 4% increased gear range to 520. I have an older video talking about the difference between X01, XX1 cassette and something like a GX, and that comparison still stands. If you look at the GX cassette, they use all these pins to connect the steel cogs all the way up to the biggest one, which is made out of aluminum. But for those of you that have had the 11-speed GX cassettes from SRAM, this portion here, the 10 to 42, I swear to God, looks exactly like that with a big mama cog bolted onto it. What do you guys think? And not to forget the most important aspect of everything, we have new colors on the redesigned SRAM drivetrains. GX only gets what's called Lunar Gray, which is here on the big 52 cog. I believe this is used by all their cassettes. X01 and XX1 get different colors on the 10 to 42 cluster as well. In the past we only had the black, but if you look carefully at this, it really reminds me of the Shimano SLX bluish gray. It's pretty impressive that even though we have a bigger, largest cog, the weight of this cassette is exactly 4 grams more than the 1050 weighted a couple of years back. Nothing fancy about the SRAM GX chains. The same ones are supposed to be used with the new cassette. However, as you saw, they don't recommend using the old derailleur with that 10 to 52 cog range. I guess the message is buy this new GX Eagle Lunar Max 52 tooth derailleur for best performance, and I guess I'm gonna have to review this next. But because I like to experiment, I'm gonna take this new cassette and install it on the old GX drivetrain. And for those of you interested in mixing SRAM and Shimano, I'm also gonna put that cassette on this mix of XTR and GX cassette and see what we get. Installation is pretty trivial. Obviously you need the XD driver. I already mentioned the grease in there, and you're gonna need a cassette tool. I always start to thread this by hand if I can, then grab a torque wrench and finish tightening it. I always tighten these to 40 Newton meters. And to make this a true test, I'm gonna put a new chain. By the way, I have a full video on how to install SRAM Eagle. Make sure to check that out. In this case, it's a hardtail, so it's gonna be big to big plus 4 links here. And that ended up about 2 links longer than the chain used with the 1050 cassette. And without changing anything else, you can see how the top jockey pretty much overlaps with the 52 when it gets close to it. So obviously we don't have enough B gap. So I adjusted that B gap to the point where I can barely squeeze my 3mm Allen in here between the top jockey and the bottom of the 52 tooth. And this is what we got. I didn't adjust anything else on the derailleur aside from that big gap. And I'm sure the new derailleur works better, but I don't see anything wrong with this. Obviously this is only on the bike stand, but I've done enough testing like this to know that this looks definitely promising. And do you guys remember the backpedaling on the biggest cog? I used to do this test a lot. Let's give it a try here. So this is a 29er, pretty short chainstays, 420 millimeters, and look at that. So depending on where you are on the cassette, you might be able to do, see, quite a bit of this, but eventually the chain will drop. The only problem is that when it drops, it does it so very aggressively, so it jumps about 2 cogs, and that's gonna jam your derailleur into the cogs. We usually use this Shimano XTR drivetrain with the SRAM 1050 cassette because I like their cassettes better. So by installing the 1052, I only had to adjust the B gap a little bit. Let's see it. It feels a bit smoother than the other one, but this is XTR versus GX, kind of expected. Working perfectly fine as well. The same backpedaling test, here it is first on the 10 to 50. This is a longer chainstay bike, and I can backpedal as much as I want. Same bike with the longer chainstay, 1052 cassette. When you get to that shift ramp or whatever that is, this cassette is going to drop the chain when backpedaling, and you can see it. It's already, the chain is already jammed in there. This can damage your derailleur. So keep this in mind. This 10 to 52 cassette is definitely prone to dropping the chain when backpedaling. But SRAM is going to continue to sell this 10 to 50 tooth cassette, so if you don't care for the extra 4% range, you have options these days. So the new expanded range cassette works well with the Shimano drivetrain. Obviously it works fine with my old GX drivetrain here. It seems to like the old derailleur, but I am definitely looking forward to trying out the new derailleur introduced with this new redesign. So make sure you subscribe to my channel to know when I get to it. What do you guys think about this new cassette? What do you think about the new expanded range? What do you think about the new colors? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any questions, don't forget to ask. If you found this useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, keep an eye on social media, and until next time, hope to see you folks on the trails. Why not riding a SRAM Eagle drivetrain? Cheers guys, cheers.